am I not mistaken, Teresa?
Yeah, I believe it is in the contract.
So, so I would imagine they missed that on this.
Okay. Well,
But it is if
Yeah.
it's in the contract,
Oh,
then
good.
that's what we'll be doing. Yeah.
Okay, well, $600 may not go a long ways, but hey, it's any type of advertising to support them and support the aquarium is always worth it, so
For
thank
sure.
you.
Yeah, I think it is in the contract be on page 97. In the contract, it's under section 3, item B.
It refers to it like it would be for every year. It refers to it.
Yeah. No, you're right, it's not in here, but I think this was kind of thrown together and they probably missed that part of it. We
Wow.
were examining between Teresa and I, the contract pretty heavily.
Well, this table's not in the contract, so that's fine. Any other questions for Mr. Alexopoulos? Very well, I have none.
Make a motion that we approve this contract through Kenny and the aquarium signing with Pepsi-Cola.
Second.
Thank you. We have a proper motion and a second. Approve item number 3. Let's vote, please.
Murray,
Yes.
Montgomery,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Chairbox.
Yes. Item number 4. Kenny, give us an update. Large animal holding facility.
Yes, so there was, it was looking like there was a significant issue with the concrete flooring. There's the product, the epoxy that goes on it, requires a certain moisture threshold in the concrete, and the concrete was just not drying out fast enough. So it kept delaying and delaying and delaying, and I think the project kind of gave up, the contractor kind of gave up that it's gonna even get there. So basically, there was a couple possible solutions. One was to back everything out of the contract and hope it dries, or put a mitigating product down, which is very expensive. So that's what the submittal to JAA reflected. But after I submitted it, we got a call from as independent testing guy that comes out and tests it, and apparently it did dry below threshold. And then they tested it again later, and then so it confirmed that it is within now the proper moisture content. So really none of this actually is an issue anymore. And then we backed out some product that was spec'd, Trex for the decking, and we really, as we were thinking about it more and more, that really we really like the pressure treated lumber instead of the Trex. It's repairable. You don't have to match it later if you got to fix it. Also, it's not as slippery, and so we backed that out in favor for the pressure treated, and that I believe saved us around $20,000. So we're actually doing pretty good. But the concrete did this whole concrete fiasco did push the project's timeline into April, because without the epoxy going down, we couldn't do the deck, and kind of one thing leads to another with that. So it kind of delayed other things. So the good thing is we don't have to back anything out of the contract, and so that means there's no unknown costs that are going to be around the corner, and so we're in good shape, and I think we're still fine with April.
Beginning, end, or just sometime in there?
Greg, do you have a?
Oh, okay. Okay. And so the epoxying, that is in their original contract?
Yes.
So they'll be doing that?
Yes.
And then you can get the deck?
Yes,
Okay.
the deck's in their contract as well.
Okay,
But,
all right.
Yeah, but we just changed from Trex to pressure treated. That's what we have now, and it's going on 23 years, and it's still in great condition. And you just use stainless steel hardware, and we just prefer it. So,
Okay, thank you.
You bet. And then the building, you know, the HVAC is on. When you go inside, it looks really close to finished. So, you know, fixtures are going up or in the kitchen and shelving, things of that nature. So we're pretty far along. Yeah. Anybody have any questions pertaining to that?
Anyone else?
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
You bet.
Did you have anything else on your general staff report update you want?
I do. I'm just making sure I have it in hand.
Okay.
Yep, I do. All right, thank you. So like I mentioned, our revenue is really strong right now, and our attendance is strong. You know, you know, it's possible that the outlet mall is having some effect, but like I said, every year so far in the last several years has been, you know, beating the year before, so, you know, we're in a great trend. As far as events, Symphony by the Sea is happening February 5th through 7th. It's a day event for all our guests to enjoy. Splash, which is our OAF biggest fundraiser, is March 1st, and ticket sales are, you know, tickets are on sale now, and it's going to be a Roaring '20s theme. So, in case you're wondering how to dress, that's so. I think it'll be pretty neat. We haven't done that yet. The aquarium run we moved to June, and we're going to include big wheel races for kids. So in the circle drive, we're going to have, you know, lines of big wheels, and June's going to be better. It'll be warmer. Be a lot easier if we're going to wake up kids that early that they're not going to be freezing. So I think it'll be a lot of fun, and we've never done that before.
Big
and I don't.
wheels?
What's that?
The big wheels?
Yeah.
I mean, like the green machine?
Yeah, yeah. Well, no green
Can't-
machines. That'll
why
be
not?
cheating.
Why?
We all know those are better.
Well, why can't the kids with better access to better tools?
I know, right? Maybe next year we'll do a special green machine race. But no, this is going to be fun. And, you know, we're even looking into possibly, and probably not this year, but, you know, they do make adult-sized big wheels. So I think it'd be fun to do. If this works out really well with the kids and it's a hit and everything and people want it back, we might start adding some stuff like that. I think that would be really neat. And also, you know, I think we'd get some decent media coverage from that. So it's not just a run, which happens almost every month somewhere. So, and it's a thing. We looked at it other cities, and it looks like it's a lot of fun. Big crowds and lots of cheering people. So, but yeah.
All right.
And then as far as projects, we seeded the pollinator garden in time for spring. We talked about the Aquatic Research Center. The south bathrooms remodel is complete. Nat Geo photo arc wall is completed, and it's on the west side of the spine. And so the photo arc, I don't know if y'all are familiar, I kind of mentioned it before. It's through Nat Geo. There's a photographer named Joel Sartori, and his project is Photo Arc, which he's basically taken pictures of every single animal in captivity around zoos and aquariums around the world, and it's in this book. It's really tastefully done, and he really loves our facility because we have some interesting animals that he hasn't, that's not part of his collection. So he's been back several times, and so a lot of our animals are in his books, and so on the wall we have those photographs, and they're backlit against the black wall. And then the center one describes, you know, what it's about and has pictures of our staff with him taking pictures. So it's really neat. You know, the staff did a great job on that. I'm pretty excited about it. The Amazon pop-up tube has been replaced that a fish broke a long time ago. And got the Cox Center wrap install done. I think there might be some tweaks with it. Is that right, Dr. Money?
There's a couple, but no one will even notice it.
Okay.
It's just for our benefit.
All right. And so basically in the Cox Center, there's a lot of aquarium wraps and on the floor and stuff. So when you walk in, you know, we're front and center, which is pretty neat. And she worked really hard with that. Aquarium van has a new wrap, and it's really, really cool. It's a lot brighter and cheerier than the last one. And then the biggie is Dr. Money secured $300,000 donation from the Oxley Foundation, which I think is huge. And that is it. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you, Dr. Money.
Reminds me of the Easter Bunny.
You were
commercial.
born for fundraising, I mean.
All right.
Yeah, even if you just had a master's, you still, all mixed, but now that you're Dr. Money, the expectations are way higher. All right, that's it?
That's it.
Thank you, Kenny. Have a
Thank
good
you, guys.
evening.
Appreciate it.
All right, the time is 5:20. Any last-minute comments, questions from the trustees? The floor is yours if you want it. All right, if not, the time is 5:20. Jenks Aquarium Authority is adjourned. See you at 6 o'clock. and welcome back to a regularly scheduled meeting of the Jenks City Council. Today is Tuesday, January 21st of 2025. Day after, I guess let's call it day 2 in a new history for our United States. My name is Corey Box. I will be presiding over tonight's discussion as your chair. And I believe, Mr. Macy, if you could verify our attendance so we can get underway.
Brown,
Here.
Short,
Here.
Emmons,
Here.
OJ, Abel,
Here.
Murray,
Here.
Mayor Box.
Here, tonight's invocation, Pastor Lance Brewer, First Baptist Jenks. Pastor, introduce yourself. Tell us about the ministry, what's going on down the street, and how you feel about the road construction.
Hey, it's great.
No, you can leave that out. No, we'd love to hear from you, because when you tell us, we're not going to yell back.
Well, today, actually, January 22nd, marks my 1-year anniversary of being on staff at First Baptist Church of Jenks as a family and kids pastor. So I've been in this community for a year. I came over here from Fayetteville, Arkansas, which is a pretty special place in and of itself. But my wife and I have absolutely loved it. Our first year here has been incredible. Actually, we really didn't become full-time residents until the 1st of July when we purchased a home here. My wife's a school teacher. She finished up the school year there in Fayetteville last May, and then secured a position here with Jenks West Elementary as well. So we're immersed into the life of this community, and as a family and kids pastor, we get to touch and be amongst hundreds of families on a week in, week out basis with lots of great moms and dads and families, and leaning into them. And so get to be amongst the people that you all are amongst. We get to see, and it is a joy to do that. So it takes good leadership to create a place that is obviously family friendly, that cares about families, is trying to do that well, maybe not perfectly, but working hard to care for families and helping parents raise that next generation. So appreciate the hard work, Mayor Box, you all do, and as a community of leaders as well. We have been charged, First Baptist Church, just in, when I got here, I hit the ground running a year ago, being led by our pastor to walk through a pretty intensive visioning process. If you've ever been through one of those things, you know that it can be some ups and downs, and you can feel like you're in some chaos and a little bit trying to answer questions of who are we, what should we be. Our task for us and for our organization was to strive to be uniquely fulfilling the mission of God. And what does that look like? And just in recent weeks, our pastor has begun to roll that out to our church family in some various ways. And one of the first things he told a significant group of our folks was, in developing a mission statement, y'all, honestly, I don't like mission statements, especially as a body of believers seeking after the one true God. The mission ought to be clear for us as followers of God. It's His mission, not ours. But our role was to how to uniquely do that. And so I couldn't think, as driving up here tonight, maybe a word of encouragement as I pray for you all, pray for our city, is that the mission for city leaders is to do well and to do good to the community. That's defined in Scripture, but probably defined in the Constitution of the city as well, how to do well and serve this community well and all. But how to uniquely do that in these times, and that's the challenge in front of you guys. Well, let me pray to that end for you as well. Our good God, thank you for these leaders here, the way that they've responded to wanting to serve in unique ways, to sacrifice of their time, to lead in this city, to do good for the people of Jenks. And so we pray that even the things tonight, whether they're tedious things or just having to check off the box or to grapple with some issues, God, that you would allow them to walk in the wisdom that you've already cooked and baked in to your creative order, that they would be able to do that well. So we pray for the discussion, we pray for the decisions, that you would walk amongst them tonight, and that you would give them peace in the work that they're doing. Thank you, Christ, that we have life forever because of you. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Pastor. And if you want to join us in standing, we'll pledge allegiance to our United States flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Animal welfare spotlight. Do we have a dog or a cat or other? Good evening, sir. How are you?
Doing good. My name's Caleb Foster. I'm the animal control officer for Jenks. We actually don't have any cats right now, and we only have 4 dogs in our shelter.
Awesome.
And this is one of them. This is Wendy. She's a mini pit. She's one of the only ones we have there that is house trained, sit, stay, roll over, everything. And she's about 3 years old and very, very good with other animals. And we actually have an adoption event this next weekend on the 1st. We're taking all the animals up to Pet Sense in Sapulpa to do a little event to try to get them adopted to new homes. So,
All right. Can you tell the world, because everyone's watching, anything else about, where is she? She's not very, she doesn't like the
she's a
camera.
little shy,
Okay.
but she's a real people person. Everybody that walked in here, she was trying to go all over.
Okay.
But she's one of the best ones we have right now. Very sweet, very good with other dogs, very good with cats. I mean, just about all around would be a good house home for, people
Okay.
with kids or just about anything.
Okay, very well.
So how do you know?
Well, yeah,
Yes, we found her and another puppy walking around over off of Birch. He actually got adopted 2 days ago, and we think that they were dumped together because they were very close, very friendly with each other. What's that? How old do you think she is? She's a little over 3 years old.
There's a whole group of folks here from PSO. We hear they really love animals. All of them right there. Keep working them until you find somewhere.
Could I
Well, her and 3 other are available right now, and they're all very good dogs,
Okay.
all house trained, all ready to go.
what time is that event?
It's going to be on the 1st from 10 to 3.
And where-
It is posted on our Facebook page. It's
Perfect.
at Pet Sense over in Sapulpa.
Perfect.
Is that a retail store? What is that?
Yeah, it's Tractor Supply's version of a PetSmart.
Okay, very well. Good luck to you, Wendy. Don't get too comfortable. You gotta go. You gotta go find a home.
You guys have a great night.
Thank you, sir. All right, citizens' comments or public comments. This is an opportunity for you guys to address the council as a whole. If you have something on your mind and it's not on tonight's agenda, you are welcome to do so. Give you about 3 minutes or so. If you want to just recite green eggs and ham, you're happy to do that too. Sing a song. You have rights. All right, doesn't seem like anybody's shimmying. We'll go ahead and close the floor to public comments, and we'll get underway with item number 1 and tonight's consent agenda. Is there any motions or any discussion?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Very well, we have a proper motion and a second to approve item 1. Let's vote, please.
Brown?
Yes.
Short?
Yes.
Emmons?
Yes.
Abel?
Yes.
Murray?
Yes.
Mayor Box?
Yes. As a result, we will pull item 2. Move on to item 3. Item 3 is a presentation by PSO regarding recent power outages in Jenks. Good evening, sir. If we could have your name, title,
Yes.
and
Good evening. Good evening. Yes.
happy to have you.
Happy to be here. Yes. Good
Yeah.
to see you, Mayor, City Council, staff. My name is Rodrigo Rojas. I am the External Affairs Manager for PSO here in the Tulsa region. And thank you for inviting us today to address the concerns of the power outages that are happening in your community. So I'm new to PSO, just a month into the job, but I know that there's been a long-lasting partnership with the city of Jenks, with your community, and also with the residents of the city. And so, Mr. Shrout, when you gave us a call a few weeks ago and asked us to join, we gladly accepted the opportunity to come speak to you all today to address these issues. And so we just want to take a few minutes to share really the concerns of why these outages happen, especially in the Melody Lane area. I know Miss Aston, who was at the last meeting, that was her major concern, and so we wanted to specifically address that as well, and share really the things that we have done in the immediate to address and mitigate these issues. And then, finally, I think the big thing for us is We want to demonstrate our commitment to the partnership that we have with your city and with your residents, and so we just want to demonstrate that by sharing some of the future solutions that we have as a company, PSO, to really improve the reliability and quality of life through the investments we're making within our infrastructure for PSO. So with that said, I want to introduce one of my colleagues that's going to get into the specifics of the concerns. His name is Dwayne Apple, and he's our Vice President of Distribution Services. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rojas.
I wanted to look around, see if Wendy was still in here. I was gonna bring her up here with me. It's hard to holler at a guy that's got it all with him. Unlike Rodrigo, I haven't just joined the company. I've been there 37 years. So, and I'm also a Jenks resident. Councilman Murray, you're actually my councilman. So I don't think we've ever met, but glad to be here with you all. Thanks for the opportunity to come and talk to you a little bit. And, you know, first of all, I just want to tell you that as far as the outages in Jenks, I own that. We own that. That's our, we are very proud of our reliability across the state. We normally stack up very well against regional partners and historically do that. But we know that starting somewhere right around the 1st of November, that we haven't performed very well in Jenks. As a matter of fact, we have 6 outages that I've looked into that wind up, when you look into them, they impacted the residents of Jenks, and terrible time of year for that to be happening. You know, you do it around the holidays, and every time that we felt like we had it fixed, well, then something else happened, and here we are. So different causes, some of them similar, some of them different, and they range from, I know Mayor Botch, you don't hear us, but some of them are squirrels. Some of them were equipment failure, and we even had a Mylar balloon. So, and I don't know if you're familiar with those cause power outages, but unfortunately, they're metal, and when they're released, either on purpose or accidentally, sometimes they get wrapped in the power lines, and the high voltage lines, if you get something wrapped and it's near another device like a wooden pole or even another conductor, if it puts them together, it's a piece of metal tying 2 phases together. So we've had some challenges with that. And then what compounded that on top of that, and I know that I live here. I know that the downtown area experienced some outages, and that's bad for them. It's bad for all of us. We don't want anyone to experience outages, but we certainly understand the additional hardship it causes businesses when they're out. And one of the things that compounded this for us is, in just a few minutes, I'm going to bring up a colleague that's going to talk about some infrastructure improvements that we're doing in Jenks. But as part of that, we had made an adjustment to a piece of equipment in a substation, and unfortunately, what was happening when we had faults that the system designed to sectionalize and minimize, like a squirrel or a balloon or a car hitting a pole, and that's supposed to minimize the outage. Unfortunately, it was riding through and was going all the way to the transformer, so it was taking the whole sub down, and we just had a really hard time finding it. We have found it. We believe that we had that situation solved. We've had personnel on site. I know you guys had to see them. They were all over town. We were trying to put the seriousness on that the situation deserved, and we really done a thorough combing and believe that we've addressed any issues that we had out there, and some that probably weren't issues, but we wanted to make sure that we're doing the right thing by the citizens of Jenks. So other than that, I can throw myself on my sword for you, but what I'll tell you is that, hey, we enjoy the partnership here. We understand that it's not only an inconvenience for you, but you deserve better. You deserve for your power to be on, and not only do we believe we had that solved, but we won't quit. We're working to keep your power on, and when things arise that cause us issues, then we'll address them. And hopefully soon we'll hear from you that, hey, you're meeting our needs, and we get your confidence back. So I'll take any questions you have. I don't want to send my colleague up here for the questions. I think I'll take those.
Council, I'll just go ahead and leave the floor open, light it up. What was your name against your last name?
Apple.
Apple, traditional spelling?
Yeah, just like the phone. Yeah, or the fruit, either way.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Murray.
Hey, And I know that there are improvements going on because it's going on Elm across from First Baptist Church. Do you know what the prognosis on how long that process is going to be, that's going to be completed? They've been working on it for a while. I know they run into some issues sometimes and having to, I guess, rebuild the walls and part of dirt work and stuff, but do you know any idea of how long that's going to be?
Well, it's part of the widening process, and in just a moment, I'll bring my colleague up, and she's going to talk about the infrastructure improvements, and that's part of it. But
Okay.
obviously, with the road widening there, and I live down that road, so if y'all want to talk about that in a minute, we can talk about that too. But I believe our electrical work, and let me just turn around, I believe April, I believe we'll finish the electrical part in April.
Okay, great.
It doesn't mean on the distribution side, so that's the substation side. On the distribution side where you've got the poles and all that, you've probably seen that we've already widened those to get ready. As a matter of fact, we've gone around the corner on 131st there, and actually have installed some smart switches that after we complete all that work and we get done, it's what they call a self-healing grid. It'll help us recover quicker. It's sectionalized into parts of the line, and we're doing this all over the state of Oklahoma. When you have a fault on a piece of line, switches open up automatically, and it tries to minimize the outage. It doesn't prevent the outage. It still happens, but tries to minimize it and gets customers on faster. So there's some exciting stuff coming to
Sure.
Jenks.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments from Mr. Apple, Mr. Brown?
Yeah, kind of weigh in here. You're going to be talking about infrastructure. I'd be curious to know if you've got a plan in place, mitigation, to where you're going through and identifying, for example, transformers versus waiting for them to go out. I know a few years ago we had a transformer that services our house in our neighborhood on the distribution side that actually I found was leaking. And we called the fire department. They came out and then you guys responded and had that. And I will periodically hear transformers go, and I'm always looking around to see where that's at. Another kind of related to that, I read studies around the nation about the volatility of our electrical grid because of the possibility of damage to substations. I'm just kind of curious where PSO is at on hardening those so that they can't be vandalized. Just see what you've got on that.
So I'll take the first one, first question first. So his first question dealt with, do we do anything to try to spot transformers or failing equipment before it happens? And as a matter of fact, we do, and do it very successfully in Oklahoma. So PSO is a fully deployed AMI metering company. So what that means is that we're able to remotely monitor your meter, your electric usage, able to switch it on and off, all of that remotely from our offices. And as part of that, we also get some information that tells us is the voltage fluctuating on a transformer, or is it too high, is it too low? And basically you can use some of that data, and they trend, and they're able to also they're able to use that based on historical information that they have from this equipment, and they're able to spot, hey, we think this transformer's at end of life. And so yes, we do proactively change those out if we believe something's near end of life, or at least go out and check it to see what we think. At the same time, it's not perfect. And so you mentioned one leaking. Different things can cause them to leak, and that is something that we can't see electronically. So we do also do periodic inspections of our circuits. When we spot those, obviously we take care of that in advance. Not a perfect science, but we're pretty good at it, and much better than I started, as I mentioned, 37 years ago. Much better than we were 37 years ago before we did that. As far as hardening our stations and things like that, we do put some technology in whether it's well, I won't go into all the technology we put in, but we do some things to try to harden our infrastructure and protect from that. And once again, it's not perfect, and everything can be defeated and foolproof, but we try to stay on the cutting edge of technology, and I think if you compare us to others, we do very well, and we'll continue to do that. And you are right, the challenges keep coming. So, Thank you for the question, Counselor.
Mr. Shrout?
I just wanted to reiterate, Mr. Apple, we really appreciate the partnership we have with PSO, both with the chamber, the city, the schools, the aquarium. We have a great relationship through your government relations team. Ms. Brown has been wonderful. I'm looking forward to working with Mr. Rojas. And I think part of the frustration, I think it is frustration of citizens and council members and certainly staff is we totally understand, as certainly the public works staff understands, there's things that happen, you know, our water lines break, we have issues with stormwater, and those things come up, and the general public looks to the city, looks to their counselors, and looks to city staff to answer questions related to infrastructure that's in the ground, related to wastewater, stormwater, and water, potable water. But when it comes to the utilities, such as obviously electricity or gas or internet, something like that, when we have multiple outages like this, even though these people, and I've had even former council members reach out to me, they know that it's not the city's responsibility. They understand that. But they are so frustrated because either I know PSO has information on their websites about outages, but if we have citizens that are contacting council members, if we have citizens that are contacting staff, and if we have citizens that show up to this very meeting to talk about this and beg us to ask PSO about this issue, I think that what I gather is perhaps if there's some tool that we can point the public to so that we don't receive the calls, so that the council doesn't receive the calls, and so the citizens don't come here, I think that is something that we're looking for, because like I said, we totally understand when there's a utility issue, and believe me, we've had our own pain trying to do everything we possibly can to communicate what the issue is and how we're fixing it and what the time frame is. And I think that's one of the things that the public, whether there's a tool that we can pass them to, or if we receive a call, you know, I don't know that I'm giving out your phone number or Ms. Brown's phone number, but you know, is there somewhere that we can point them, even on Facebook, if we find out about these outages, so that it doesn't kind of come back on the people who really aren't responsible for the power supply?
Yes, sir. And Mr. Stroud, thank you for the question. And we several ways they can contact us. First of all, through their account online, they can report an outage. There's phone numbers there as well. I know that gets frustrating because that gets them to a call center. Although I think our folks are really good. I think that they're good at getting that to the right place. We are on social media as well. I encourage you to follow us and on both either X or our Facebook, and we monitor that as well. And then Rodrigo is for you folks. He's your contact, and I have a feeling Mr. Murray and I'll be connecting, and I'm sure he'll be able to reach out to me if he needs to. Let me say this. I do want to be clear that what the city of Jenks has experienced since November, for the months of November and December, it's just unacceptable. It doesn't meet our standards. At the end of the day, I assure you that about the time I saw that for the third time, we had the biggest conference call trying to figure out what is going on. And we, you know, I got to tell you, PSO is lucky, very fortunate. We have some of the finest employees and quite frankly in the industry, and they take a lot of pride in our system and our reliability. And so we had people volunteering to, hey, let's look at this, let's try to solve that. And so once again, I hope it doesn't ever rise again to the occasion where my neighbors, our citizens, have to come and complain to you all that we're not doing what we should do. But if that ever does occur, I assure you, reach out to Rodrigo or Mr. Murray can reach out to me, and we'll figure it out. I assure you that.
Thank you.
Would you guys like to hear about the infrastructure upgrades that are going on in Jenks?
Yeah, and one suggestion too, you know, for the public, I don't use it very often, but at some point I did download the PSO app, which I don't know why, because my wife pays the bill. But even without logging in, this, at the very bottom, the big button says report an outage or a problem. One thing you can do to help us is, Rodrigo, the next time the power goes out in Jenks, I want you to go to Facebook, go to Jenks Chit Chat, and get it over with. Because people think that we have switches, like the mayor flipped a switch and turned the power off of people. I don't like. I'm sitting here in the dark, just like everybody else. I think my street is plagued. There's only 5 homes on my street. I don't know if we're disconnected. I think Robert Bell years ago probably didn't put us on the same grid. But I lose power a lot too. I kind of gotten used to it. I don't really complain about it, but I think I hear about it through social media and Facebook. You guys go where the people are, because nobody's going to anybody's website. I mean, we've learned that the hardest thing for a city to do is communicate to everyone. And it's a lesson we learned. I don't care how good your website is. People, you need to meet them where they're at. We have a significant portion of our population, our seniors, who don't want social media, so that's out. So, you know, we try to get them to opt into the alerts and different things, but use the same tool. The bad news spreads fastest on Facebook and Nextdoor. Meet people where they're at. That'd be my suggestion. But yeah, you can report an outage without knowing your password, because I certainly don't know what mine is. Yeah, and we're happy to hear from whoever you have left, and then.
Thank you, Mayor Box.
Yeah.
Great advice there. So let me introduce, this is Ashley Nolte. So Ashley's a Jenks resident as well. So we only brought the Jenks people out.
Does your power ever go out?
Yes, actually. And I
Okay.
actually was with all of the elementary school first grade teachers on the 13th when the power went out.
Wow.
Because my daughter is at Jenks West. So I took it very personally, not only because I'm responsible and I own that, but it wasn't fun being the one from PSO in front of everyone when the school.
Did all the kids just like give you the evil eye?
The kids were excited. The teachers on the
Oh.
other hand, not so excited.
Yeah, I wish we could all be kids again.
So I'll step back. Ashley is our Director of Transmissions Field Services, and so she's got some exciting news for you.
Thank you, sir, Mr. Apple.
Yes, again, Ashley Nolte, Jenks resident. I haven't been with the company for 37 years, but I have been for 18, so I'm glad to say that. I mentioned, you know, the elementary school. That was not my finest day to have to stand up there, but on my phone and working to resolve the issues. Some of the infrastructure upgrades that we are doing, and I'm primarily responsible for the high voltage, so the large towers that you see, the substation equipment inside the fences, that's what my responsibility is. And so we are actually at Jenks Substation, we are upgrading the transformer there, not only because of its age and infrastructure, but because we're growing, which is good, so our load is going up, and so we need a larger piece of equipment there to handle that. We're also upgrading the protection schemes. So what that means is a lot of our old protection is more like I won't call it an old, a traditional watch with gears, right? Well, now everything is computers. And so we're putting that type of protection in the substation there at Jenks. Part of it had already been upgraded, part of it hadn't been. That was some of the miscoordination that we saw in the events in November that we were able to identify and fix on the 25th. So unfortunately on that last outage, but it's one of those things where you don't find what's lost until you find it, right? You don't keep looking after that. So that's some of the upgrades at Jenks. At 116th and Peoria along Elm, that substation, like we mentioned, is going to be finished with its upgrades. We're replacing both transformers and upgrading the feeder equipment because of the road expansion, and that will be completed in April. So there's a lot of good and exciting things going on in our those two substations specifically. I do want to address your question around challenges to the infrastructure, whether that's terrorism or just theft. It is something that's very important to us, especially at our substations. We not only are federally mandated to look into that from a critical infrastructure standpoint, but we're proactively doing that naturally because we want to make sure that we're providing reliable service. A lot of times we have people come in and try to steal copper, because copper is financially helpful for those who don't want to work in other ways to make money. And so there's a lot of different reasons why we've got to protect our infrastructure, whether that's resistant fences, I won't say cut-proof fences, but cut-resistant fences, and then more robust infrastructure depending on the need and scale of the substation.
All right. Any questions, comments, Mr. Short?
You mentioned two substations, the one at 116th.
Yes.
Where's the second one?
Jinx substation is at 91st and Elwood.
Okay,
Yep.
okay, that's right,
And
that's
that's
right.
the substation
So it's just those two substations for our
those are the
city?
primary.
Okay, okay, very good. And so, quick question, you talk about growth, I'm assuming you mean population growth?
Yes, usage
Commercial
growth.
usage
Yep.
growth.
Yep.
Would those changes have been made if we weren't widening Elm? Or
Yes.
was Elm stimulating some of these changes?
The transformers would have been replaced anyway. The relocation and adjustment of the feeders is definitely a result of the road widening project.
Thank you.
That's a good question, Kevin. Our city staff has been telling us for a while, for a long time, that they suspect our city's population will probably max out at 35,000, and we are not too far from that.
Yeah. High 20s, I heard from the last.
Yeah, high
meeting.
20s, it seems. I guess you guys see that your capacity to provide adequate, reliable services in conjunction with our growth plan.
And a
Or-
part of it too is not just the load growth from more people, but it's the usage of those individuals. You know, people are charging cars, and there's just a lot more electric usage, so it's
Yeah.
not just the people. But yes, we are aware of that. And
In
our
your,
infrastructure.
in your opinion, does Jinx have more, less, or the same amount of issues in the last couple of months compared to maybe some of the other cities in the south part of Tulsa? Just opinion, I don't need numbers.
I would say what we saw at Jenks was unique in the sense that we didn't find the problem the first time. When we have an outage, we investigate it immediately, and there were more than one issue at play that caused us to think we found it. Kind of back to that, you don't look for things after you think you found it. We thought we found it, and then another outage told us that we didn't. And so we went even deeper. And that was, I would say it was a unique, that's not how we like to serve this community. We don't like our power outages to happen at all. That's our
Yeah.
goal, is to prevent them, but I would say it's a unique situation.
And it is a fact that something as simple as a squirrel or an animal, that can do it.
That can
A
do it.
balloon even.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the challenge with that is, it sounds silly, right? It sounds silly when we say a squirrel caused this. But if you've ever had a dog with squirrels in the backyard, you understand that they are not, they're pesky little creatures, and they get across pieces of equipment. And so, as Dwayne was describing with the Mylar balloon, if you cross two pieces of an electrical system, that creates a path and it causes a trip. And so there are times, because squirrels are small and pesky, that we won't be able to easily find them. Typically, they give up their life when they get up into the electric equipment, and so we will find them at the base of the pole and see burn marks up on the pole. So sometimes it is difficult for us to, they're not the smoking gun until you find them. So we have to walk the line, we have to inspect the lines to find what caused it, and yeah, it may seem like a small thing, but
They are smoking when you find them?
not smoking. I probably should have used my words better, but they are not always with us anymore when we find them, yes.
Okay, yes,
One quick
sir.
follow-up.
Yeah,
So the two substations with our projected growth, do those substations also provide capacity to other cities, municipalities? Like, for instance, Glenpool, we butt up against Bigby.
So
Do
our
those,
our electric grid is interconnected throughout. It's not an island. Jinx is not on its own. It's all interconnected, especially on the transmission grid. Now, the distribution has, as Dwayne was mentioning, we have abilities to isolate and to sectionalize, but yeah, it's all interconnected. The power flows all around. So
Okay.
we're not an island.
okay, thanks.
Absolutely.
So that reminds me of another question. So in a recent discussion with leadership of one of our neighbors, they were having significant power problems, but they had nearly an immense number of grow facilities burning lots of energy. We have maybe two that I know of. So you're saying that as things go in Glenpool, we're impacted here? There's no isolation on that?
No,
grid?
there is isolation. I
Okay.
just mean we're interconnected. We're
Okay,
not
understood. That's
isolated.
fine.
Yes, yes. No, every substation is a node, and it's an interconnection point, an isolation point between the next substation.
Okay, great. Mr. Murray?
Two things. One, since you've discovered, after research, finding out the problem, have we encountered in Jenks any outages since then?
No, not since the 25th.
Okay, so we think we may have,
Well-
have a,
Oh, okay.
oh, okay. The other thing is, and I guess it's probably not necessarily on the subject of this, but what determines whether PSO is providing it, or East Central Electric, or OG&E or something in, because I guess in Jenks, there are some other utilities, is that correct, Mr. Strout, of electricity?
Yeah, East Central Electric, OG&E.
We all have our service territory, so the others
Okay.
you mentioned, sometimes it's dual certified, sometimes you're in the same location, sometimes you're not. You mentioned Glenpool a couple of times. We serve very little of Glenpool.
Okay.
Most of that's OG&E or East Central. Ashley is right, the distribution is connected. There's a substation over here at ORU, there's a substation down at 71st and Elwood. All of those things are connected. And you know, we're also looking, you know, one other infrastructure thing we're looking is also, we have a distribution feeder. We're looking at increasing our feeder ties on that. So you asked, have we had any more outages? I could have told you on my way here today that since 12:30, that was our last outage in Jenks. And my folks messaged me on the way here and said, we got an outage at Jenks. So we had a what's relatively a small outage. It's 65 customers, and we had it off for a short time. That was our Mylar balloon. So the good news, the system worked the way it's supposed to. So the way the system works out there, not only do you have breakers at the substation, but you have, across the line, you have different devices. Sometimes it's breakers that open and close. Sometimes it's simply just fuses that are designed to blow so it doesn't affect the rest of the customers. That's what happened in this case. Our folks went out. They were relatively quickly able to identify that. I'm going to say it took them, and I didn't look, but roughly an hour. And that is, they have to visually find it. But they found the balloon, looked at the rest of the line. We don't like to close in without looking. Looked at the rest of the line, and then re-energized the line, got the customers back on. So.
Another question, because it's a completely different topic, but do you guys by chance use any drones to do surveys of the, how often would you suggest drones flying in our zip code?
Well, we used drones in November and December while we were trying to find this this problem. Not only they're not just drones, they also have heat-seeking devices on them. So infrared, so
FLIR
we're able
camera,
to look
yeah.
for a hot spot. It's not something that we don't just fly drones around just to fly them. And as a matter of fact, our licenses are the line of sight licenses, so that, you know, you have to be able to see them. I think there's actually footage there. I'm not familiar with that, but nonetheless, so they're not just out there. It's not a New Jersey situation. They're not just flying around. But if we do have if we do have a line that's either hard to patrol by foot or vehicle, or we're just not finding it the way we want to, then we have some drones that we can bring in and try to find the problem.
So with
And
the,
we did that.
with the FLIR camera, you could be flying in the dark?
I don't believe we fly in the dark, do we?
Will
We
you?
don't because of
Okay.
line of sight,
Yeah.
and we can't see it. If we can't see it,
Okay.
then it's not in the air.
And just for the, I don't know if you're sticking around for the rest of our meeting. I would. It's getting warm in here, and we're all getting toasty and sleepy up here. How big are these drones that, what the public's, you have no idea what I'm going through with the drones. I haven't even talked to the chief yet, but it's become a thing all of a sudden. How big are your drones? What color are they? So people can say, is there a big PSO flag coming out of the back?
I don't know that there is. It is something that we can look at. We do work with the FAA. I mean, Jenks specifically, we've got the airport, so there's certain things that we file deconfliction.
Do they have to file a flight plan, chief? Okay, all right. So have you seen your drones, just so we can, we have to answer the questions, and lately it's
They're
been,
they're not large. They
Okay.
don't have a PSO, they don't have a PSO logo.
I know, it was just a
They-
joke.
To my knowledge, the ones I've seen are black.
Black.
But,
Oh, that's really helpful.
happy to get you a picture of them.
Maybe if you could paint them red, white, and blue, we might calm people down a little bit, but, so Chief, is it your estimation that if a drone's flying in Jinx, it's you or PSO? Who else could it be? Without permission? Okay, thank you, sir. Any other questions for, yes, sir?
One quick follow-up, and you may not be able to answer this question, but we hear a lot about, on a macro basis, building out infrastructure for like the electric grid, those kind of things. In your estimation, how would a build out on the electric grid impact Jinx? When they say that as a layperson, how should I interpret that? Is that more substations, bigger substations, more overhead lines? How do you look at that from making the electric grid more, like you said, there's more usage. So how do you all just, really quickly? Sorry, this may be a thesis for all I know.
Yeah, it's not an easy thing to fit into short words, but we have a planning department that takes a look at that. Typically, as we make the conductor size larger, we can get more capacity. So we're not looking to get new right-of-way or new lines unless they're necessary, right? Unless it's a new subdivision or things like that. But traditionally, we're trying to stay within the footprint that we've got.
It'll look a lot like what you see today. So subdivisions, they're almost always underground now. Main lines, still overhead. It's very expensive to bury. And so we target that where you can, but at the same time, ratepayers pay for that. And so we don't, we're very careful. We're very careful with that when we do that. But it won't look a lot different than it does today.
And if you'll indulge me, I mean, you're here because our residents asked you guys to come. I certainly appreciate that. If there's anyone in the room that is here for this presentation and there's a question outstanding that hasn't been answered, you're welcome to come forward. We're here for you guys. So if you want to do that, do it now. Just don't do it from your seat. This is Mr. Keith Montgomery. He's basically Mr. Jinx America. He volunteers for everything. And he's a great guy. What you got, Mr. Montgomery?
Well, my question's related to the aquarium, because I think you have a proposed project to upgrade those power lines that go across our campus. But I haven't seen or heard a lot of that. Is that going to, I think that's to upgrade its capacity, but I don't think that requires more right-of-way, does it?
No, I don't know if you can hear me. So his question was, are we upgrading a power line out near the aquarium? And the answer is yes. I've seen the plans on that. No, it won't require more right-of-way. And the reason that we're doing that is, once again, to strengthen the reliability for Jinx. So what that does, and one of the questions earlier was, do you have other substations? It creates a tie. And so we're wanting to upgrade the capacity so that if we have a piece of Jinx out over there, that we can actually use that line to tie to another station if one of your stations is down and keep Jinx in power. So, yeah, we're looking at that.
Okay, and is there a schedule for when that work would occur? Because we have other things going on around the campus. And so that was just a question, because I know in talking with the staff there, they were vaguely aware that you guys were thinking about it.
We don't have it scheduled yet, and our intention was not to schedule until we came out and talked to you.
Okay,
So,
right.
yeah. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else more related to power outages? Anyone else? Okay, thank you. I would say this to you guys. I don't know if you're finished, but I appreciate you, Rodrigo, whoever. It's nice to have somebody who's been doing this as long as you have. Years ago, when I sat over there, we had an issue in the city of butane blending, and ConocoPhillips sent out an engineer, and the room was full. And he basically said, I got my degree a couple weeks ago, and I've been here for 17 days. And if he wasn't so kind, I think he would have been lynched. So I appreciate you being in your position for 37 years and 18 years respectfully. And it's super cool knowing that, you guys live in Jenks, and now I think we know where to find you guys.
Yeah. Well, and hopefully we've increased your opinion of engineers, because I know I am personally an engineer, so
What kind of engineer are you?
electrical and computer.
Wow, you are smarter than everybody up here. Well, thank you.
Very much for having us.
Thank you
We
for-
appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, appreciate you coming. Thank you. Okay, thank you, PSO. We are moving on to item number 4. Item number 4 is appointing a member of our city council to the INCOG. For those of you that don't know, that's the Indian Nations Community of Governments Board of Directors as the City of Jenks alternate. Mr. Shrout, just give us a quick rundown on what this is, sir.
So the city of Jenks is a member of INCOG. It's really kind of a conglomeration of the county and all of the municipal governments within the larger Tulsa metro, and that includes, Osage County all the way down to Okmulgee into Creek County, and east, all the way to Claremore and Wagner. And so a lot of our federal funding comes through INCOG, and it's a pass-through grant that the feds send money to the state, and then INCOG is the official body that awards those grants. And so if you think about the Main Street widening project or our Elwood projects, those were federally funded and awarded by INCOG. And so we have representation on that board. We have one member. Previously, it was Councilor Isbell. He's no longer here. I think Councilor Klein was a representative for a brief time. The meetings are once a month, I believe, on Tuesdays at 1:30. They're downtown on Third and something. And so if there's anyone on council that has the ability or flexibility to get down there for these 1:30 meetings once a month, we'd appreciate anyone offering. And usually I've been an alternate, or the mayor's an alternate, so if that person cannot make it, I attend or the mayor attends.
Does anyone else need a better sales pitch for considering, we'll just open it up. Anyone have an interest? I can tell you that I go, you already lit the mic. I'll tell you this, you're gonna find councils, city engineers and city managers and mayors and vice mayors, people from the water people. You'll find Federal Highway, you'll get to hear stimulating reports on the air quality index. And what's so funny? We all care about that. I think it's pretty interesting. Supposedly the air here in Jenks is better than it is in Tulsa. If you're interested in doing this, the key thing is it's always relationships. These people expect Jenks to be there. And I frankly think a lot of our success in getting, there's a room downtown and they're trying to figure out who to give grant money to. And it's the system is what it is. It's relationship driven. So if you're going to go, get there early, shake hands, stay afterwards, let people know who you are, and let them know what's happening in Jenks. And it's really all about the relationships. It is a commitment to be downtown. My ask is that we just have somebody there all the time. So there's a whole lot to learn. And I think a lot of it's harder than what we do here. But the ask is just to be there and represent. So we'll go ahead and I'll quit talking, and you guys can rush to raise your hand to see who gets it first, and then we'll try to figure out who it was and kind of go from there. You do have to be downtown.
I am currently serving on the INCOG Go plan, so I've got exposure to them right now, and my professional role is developing grants. So
I don't know why, but I just figured you'd be perfect for this. It really helps the planning commission experience that you've had, and your ability to seek funds and do what you do in the civilian. I think it's a good parallel. Anybody else have any
Second.
interest in doing this?
Second.
I don't think do we need to vote on this? Is this a vote?
I think we can just let
Yeah,
Mr. Briere know.
yeah. So you have my commitment. If you want to do this and you can't make it, if you can let us know, we just need to be at the table. Because, yeah.
Maybe we can go ahead and just vote on that.
You want to vote on it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then I enthusiastically nominate the esteemed gentleman from Ward 1, Mr. John Brown, to be the alternate for the INCOG.
Primary.
The primary, excuse me.
Second.
Okay, we have a proper motion and a second on Mr. Brown serving as the primary INCOG representative. Let's vote, please.
Brown? Should I abstain, probably, technically?
You're still getting it, so you can do all you want.
I will abstain.
Short,
Yes.
Emmons,
Yes.
Abel,
Yes.
Murray,
Yes.
Mayor Box.
Yes, it's unanimous. Congratulations, Mr. Brown. All right, moving on. Item number 5 is ordinance number 1662. It's related to Jenks zoning 25-697. We're considering rezoning a piece of property to commercial shopping, et cetera, et cetera. It's currently located at 515 West Aquarium Place. If you're following along, we're on page 144, and we welcome Mrs. Hilton for the first time. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council and staff. This item is a straight rezoning from RS3, which is residential, single-family, to commercial shopping. It's lots 21 and 22, of Block 45 of the original town plat. So this is a very old part of Jenks, and currently, there's nothing on it. If you look on page 146, it shows a vacant lot, and you have the Edward Jones Building, which would be to the west. All the properties around it are either CS or CH, commercial heavy or commercial shopping. Staff and planning commission recommend approval of the rezoning request to commercial shopping.
Thank you, Mrs. Hilton. Questions, comments from council? Just go ahead and you don't need to wait if you have a comment. All right, Mrs. Hilton, is there, in your professional opinion, other than CS or commercial shopping, is there any other potential zoning that would make sense here?
I think CS is just right.
Just right. Okay, thank you for your opinion. I appreciate it. Council, last call. Close the floor to council. We're on item number 4. This is a zone change. If anyone from the public would like to speak. Item number 5, you're welcome to do so.
So, Robert Bell, 101 East Aquarium Place. And I don't have to say anything about this because this should be CS. It should have been CS all along. So it's the proper zoning and we agree with staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Thank you. We'll close the floor on item number 5, return back to council. We can entertain a motion.
Motion to approve ordinance 1662 related to JZ 25-697.
Second.
Thank you, gentlemen. We have a proper motion and second. Let's vote, please.
Brown,
Yes.
Short,
Yes.
Emmons,
Yes.
Abel,
Yes.
Murray,
Yes.
Mayor Box.
Yes, item 6 is emergency clause.
Motion to approve the emergency clause on number 1662.
Second that as well.
Thank you both. Proper motion and second. Let's vote, please.
Brown,
Yes.
Short,
Yes.
Emmons,
Yes.
Abel,
Yes.
Murray,
Yes.
Mayor Box.
Yes. Okay, no more water left. Let's see if I can get this. Item number 7 is ordinance number 1659. An ordinance amending Chapter 2 of the City of Jenks Code of Ordinances for alcohol and Chapter 14 of the City of Jenks Code of Ordinance under offenses. I can read the entire item number, but do the abridged version on the actual, right? Is that what we agreed on?
You are welcome to read it all, but I think the abridged version will be fine since it's in writing.
Okay, very well. So, okay, I'll read that one more time. Ordinance number 1659, ordinance amending Chapter 2 of the City of Jenks Code of Ordinances for alcohol and Chapter 14 of the same Code of Ordinances for offensive. Mrs. Nolan, good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. This is generally a revision to Chapter 2 as well as Chapter 14. Council adopted Chapter 2, which is a new chapter related solely to alcohol, a few years ago, back when Oklahoma passed the alcohol modernization laws. This is essentially a cleanup of that chapter based on some recent law changes, as well as to consolidate some offenses that still were in Chapter 14, that's our general criminal code, and to move those to Chapter 2 and get them updated. We added a section related to cocktails to go. That was a change that happened after we passed that, and cleaned up definitions. We deleted a section that is now a felony provision, because that now falls to state prosecution rather than us. And that's really it. Chief Jackson's here also to answer questions about enforcement if you have any.
So essentially, this is cleanup,
Cleanup.
tighten the belt, so to speak, and gives us more legitimate opportunities to actually enforce laws.
Yes, by them being clear and
Yeah.
up to date. And
Okay, great. We are on item number 7. Council have any questions for Teresa? Mr. Emmons?
Yes, what kind of prompted this cleanup, so to speak?
trying to think I think we just ran into some questions about how certain things worked, and it made us dig in and made us realize that there are probably some things that we could do better and state more clearly. Also, we were looking at Chapter 14 and recognized that there were still some lingering things there that didn't seem to be quite jive with what was in Chapter 2 that was more updated, and so we knew it was time for a cleanup.
And I think that the idea is, you know, if the city's been around for 100 years and laws have been put into ordinances are put into place, state legislation changes, federal legislation changes, and so the law is always in flux. And I think that even when Teresa got here, she was looking through the code, and there's just some things, I can't think of anything off the top of my head, that kind of seem outlandish to be included in the ordinance. And I think that it's hopefully something that we continue to try to do on an ongoing annual basis, is review our code and see how that matches up with, you know, if our ordinances are in line with state and federal laws. So,
Yeah, and also when we do something, adopt something fairly big and comprehensive, I mean, you can see a bigger example with the UDO that we passed a couple years ago that now we're kind of fine tuning it and getting it how we want. This is more of a medium example, but it was a big change, and so it makes sense that we have to tighten it up a little bit.
Questions, comments? All right, item 7. We can entertain a motion if you guys are comfortable with 7.
Make a motion to approve item 7 as written.
Second.
Thank you. You have a proper motion 7, on item 7. Let's vote, please.
Brown?
Yes?
Short?
Yes.
Emmons?
Yes.
Abel?
Yes.
Murray?
Yes.
Mayor Box?
Yes, item 8 is the emergency clause retaining to ordinance 1659, or item 7.
I make a motion to.
Second.
What was your
Yes.
motion?
Item 8.
Sorry.
Adopted item 8.
I'm sorry, say it?
Approve item 8.
Thank you.
Excuse me.
All right, yeah, we have a proper motion, a second, item 8. Let's vote, please.
Brown?
Yes?
Short?
Yes.
Emmons?
Yes.
Abel?
Yes.
Murray?
Yes.
Mayor Box?
Yes, item number 9 is ordinance 1660, an ordinance amending Chapter 14 of the City of Jenks Code of Ordinances or Offenses by repealing Section 14-2-5, begging prohibited, and clarifying the scope of the offense, and adding penalties to Section 14-2-9, immoral conduct, et cetera, et cetera. Lots going on here. My guess is your explanation is it's time for us to get our house in order. Anything else you'd like to say about this?
Yes, to expand on that a little, Chapter 14 is probably one of the last frontiers. As Mr. Schrout was explaining, we've been trying to get our code generally updated in Chapter 14, other than some law changes like medical marijuana that we responded to immediately. This chapter has been due for an overhaul for a long time. Our code was adopted in 1972, and I think a lot of these sections haven't been touched since then. So this was designed to be a general update and make sure we're complying with state and federal law. So there is a couple of general categories. There are a couple related to youth access to tobacco. Those are important right now. They're recommended by TSET, and staff is working on preparing an application for a TSET grant for healthy communities. And this is something that they require as part of that. There is a whole kind of a list of updates that are related to disturbing the peace type ordinances. Those 5 or 6 ordinances were all written with very broad, kind of vague language, I mean, back in the 70s, so they can, have words like improper and disorderly that are so broad when we're dealing with expressive conduct, so speech and other expressive conduct, we of course have First Amendment concerns, and we have to have our laws narrowly tailored to not restrict more speech than is necessary and not restrict protected speech. So the way those are written, they could encompass a whole range of protected, regular speech that wouldn't be criminal in nature. Also, as far as noise, it's moving noise enforcement, and this is something Chief Jackson might expand upon, to more of a nuisance rather than a criminal provision, as well as some firearms updates and a couple other things to comply with state law. So we can take questions. I think a lot of these questions, probably Chief Jackson will have to jump in, but.
All right, thank you, Ms. Snell. Any questions from council on difference between a AR-15 and a BB gun?
No questions on that, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick comment. I had a chance to visit with council about this particular proposal, and just to let you know in advance, I'm prepared to make a motion, but there's some things that I feel like explanation-wise, the analogy that I used with council is I would prefer to see us build a fence before we tear a fence down. And there's some language in here that I recognize that when they were reviewing these ordinances, there was a question of enforceability, maybe because of case law in other districts, maybe some at the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals. But there's some areas in here that I feel like if we just pull them down and are not sure about the fence we're building, we might have unintended consequences. And I'll reference those items that I had issues with. 14-2-15, nudity and improper dress.
Can you give us a page?
Yeah, page 159.
Okay.
Nudity and improper dress. And rather than, this could turn into a council meeting of hilarity, so I don't really want to spend a lot of time on hypothetical situations. But in looking at these, again, there's a number of real situations that could come up that I think within the community we would not want to open the doors on without making sure that we've taken the time to properly address what our controls are. And let me come back and circle on this, because what is being proposed is a removal of some language in our ordinances and being replaced with maybe a catch-all general ordinance that will cover the language on that. I would like to take the time, maybe postpone until the next meeting, to spend some time with council and look at the detail on the language on that, do a little bit more homework on it. I know we've talked about noise ordinances, about dealing with our code enforcement of noise, and that somewhat falls into this as well. So ones I have issues with, 14-2-15, I had issues with 14-3-7, disturbing religious worship services, 14.3.8, I think was in here as well, which was going to be, let me get to the right page, page 165, yeah, disturbing public assembly, 14.3.9, noise, loud noise and music, 14.3.10, displaying insulting signs, 14.3.11, literature and language, ridiculing deity, and last but not least, 14.7-2, insulting teachers. Again, had a chance to talk with council. And she's right, there is some broad and ambiguous language in the way that our ordinances were written, but I'd rather take the time and make sure we're not opening up the barn and letting the cattle out before we've had a chance to closely look at what we want to replace it with. So that's comments.
You used quite a few analogies in your,
Mr. Metaphor Man, that's my
yeah, okay. So my ask of you is, by the way, for the record, you're referring to legal counsel and not counsel?
Correct.
Okay. So are you suggesting you need another month to be comfortable with this? And you just want us to give you the latitude to put this?
I I don't know if I need a month. I'd just like to take a couple more weeks to look in detail and see if we can find some language from some other sources, maybe other municipalities that would be concerned with the same things, just to get some outside opinions.
So not the next council meeting, but the one after, maybe a month from now?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Okay. Do you have any questions for the chief while he's here?
Chief Jackson already covered my questions.
Okay, very well. Mr. Shrout, did you have a
Well, I
comment?
was just gonna say, if that, what do the chief and attorney think? Do we wanna just go ahead and wait a month, or?
Well, we just kind of talked about it, and I'm willing to take Mr. Brown, we've been working on this for years. Like she said, this hadn't been updated since the 70s. We had, Chief Brown and I, and Ms. Nowlin have been working on it, you know, I say not so much me, you know, I don't do anything, but this has been in the process for a while. And so a lot of these things that you're seeing in here that you have issues with have either been deemed, we can't enforce them because of the Supreme Court says so. So like one of the things you said was insulting signs. If that was the case, I would have arrested every one of the Westboro Baptist people when they were here for Toby Meister's funeral, because very disheartening and very insulting. The Supreme Court says we can't. And by keeping that law on the books, that's an unconstitutional law. It needs to be removed. It's not enforceable. It's unconstitutional. Period. Nudity in public is a felony. So it doesn't need to be in our books. That's a state statute. All the noise ordinances are going in. We are working with a consultant right now, working on a noise ordinance that's going to be unto itself. So what we need is a disorderly conduct ordinance that has the right wording in it, that meets the federal standards and the state standards, and what we've provided in repealing these things has, I believe, has done that. But we are willing to sit on this and wait another month and everything so that we can get some more input if that's what we need.
And I appreciate the work you put into this. It's just if you're asking me for an up or down vote from a governance standpoint for the city, I don't feel like I've had the adequate time to weigh in. It is unintended consequences. And yes, in fact, there maybe the Supreme Court has weighed in on these, but I want to look at those unintended consequences and see, are these things that I can live with on my conscience and in front of the community to say, why did you remove an ordinance that allows people to be topless in Veterans Park? So I just want to be able to have a piece that those protections that you're saying with the replacement ordinance is going to cover us on these specific items.
Are you interested in pulling the entire item, or do you want to?
No, just, I think we can segment them out because there's other things in here that we do need to pass.
You comfortable with that?
How do you separate it?
We just make a
think he just
motion
has
to
to give a
approve
very
item 9.
specific
I can do it with a motion.
Yeah, he can do that.
Says he approves either with the exception of or approving these specific, and then I'll revise the actual ordinance before the mayor signs it.
And clearly, if the council feels otherwise, I'm just one
And
vote.
that'll at least narrow the issues when we come back. So broad, so much.
Well, I second that.
Thank you, Chief. Hopefully, somebody up here will. But,
I look forward to hearing that motion.
okay. Any other questions or comments from council on item number 9, ordinance 1660? If not, Mr. Brown, you can make a motion, and we'll see if you get some support on it.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the proposal on amendments to Chapter 14 of the City Ordinances Offenses, with the exception pulling the provisions for the changes to Section 14-2-15. Sections 14-3-7, 14-3-8, 14-3-9, 14-3-10, 14-3-11, and 14-7-2.
I don't see a 311. Oh, disregard I do
Yeah.
now. Okay. So, before we entertain a second, Counselor Brown is making a motion to approve item 9 with the exception of sections 14.2-15, 14.3-7, 14.3-9, 14.3-10, 14.3-11, 14.7-2. Is that
And
correct,
three-
Mr.?
And 3-8 as well.
And 3-8. Okay, I think we have our heads wrapped around that. If I may, sir, can you go, now that I butchered that, can you give me one more?
Again?
Play it back.
Sure, absolutely. So approving the amendments.
Just start all over with your
Sure,
motion, if you may.
Sure, motion to approve the proposal for amendments to our city ordinances, Chapter 14 offenses, with the exception of 14-2-15, 14-3-7, 14-3-8, 14-3-9, 14-3-10, 14-3-11, and 14-7-2.
All right. Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Anyone want to debate the motion or the second? All right, very well. We have a
I have a
proper,
quick question. So whether or not these are on our books or not, if somebody were topless in Veterans Park today, whether these are on our books or not, your outcome, police chief, would be the exact same, right?
Yes. We're going to charge them with a felony and take them to cause.
we're just counting on the fact that most people won't want to be topless with the weather for the next 30 days. So we're gonna roll the dice on this one. Anything else, sir? We have a proper motion and a second on the floor. There was no debate. Let's vote, please.
Brown?
Yes?
Short?
Yes.
Emmons?
Yes.
Abel?
Yes.
Murray?
Yes.
Mayor Box?
Yes, thank you. Item 10 is the emergency clause for number 9, or ordinance 1660. The emergency clause.
I will make a motion to pass the emergency clause for the prior motion dealing with Chapter 14 of our Sydney ordinances.
Second.
Thank you. We have a proper motion and a second. Item 10, let's vote, please.
Brown?
Yes?
Short?
Yes.
Emmons?
Yes.
Abel?
Yes.
Murray?
Yes.
Mayor Box?
Yes, sir. Item 11 is a consideration and appropriate action relating to ordinance number 1661, an ordinance of the City of Jenks, Oklahoma, approving and adopting an amendment to the Jenks River Entertainment District Economic Development Project Plan to clarify the legal boundaries of the increment District Number 6, providing for severability, declaring an emergency, and containing other provisions related thereto. We are on page 167. Welcome, David. Good evening,
Mayor
sir.
and Council. Basically, we are just kind of, like I said, kind of clarifying the legal boundary. When this was originally drawn up, the map, the intended map that we wanted did not match the actual legal description. Therefore, what we had to do is a minor amendment to basically change this to include all the parcels and everything in TIF 6 that we intended to. So it's just kind of a crossing Ts and dotting Is, basically.
And can you tell us why this is a minor amendment, not maybe a major amendment?
I'm going to go ahead and let that.
This amendment adds less than 5% to the TIF area, and the original ordinance allows the city council to make amendments of up to 5%.
Okay.
In the boundaries, so this does not have to go through the full TIF process.
So, and this, okay, appreciate that. So anything above 5%, we would go through the whole show again. Okay. Any questions for David or anyone on staff related to this? This is for in the raw, but that's, yeah.
Real quick, is that 5% aggregate or per amendment?
Per the project area, right?
Well, yeah, it's per the project area. I am not sure on that answer.
Who did the calculation?
I will say that the TIF council suggested that it is a minor amendment only, so.
Sure, I'm just thinking the TIF's so large, if we have another amendment,
Yeah.
do we, in the aggregate, cause another problem? So,
It would at least pertain only to TIF 6 in this area, not all the other
This was
TIFs
a
we
good
pass
suggestion,
at the same time.
Nate.
okay, thank you.
Okay. 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 Anything else? We good? Okay. Item 11. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Anyone want to take action on item 11?
Make a motion to approve item 11 as presented. Ordinance number 1661.
Second.
Thank you both. Proper motion and a second. Let's vote, please.
Brown.
Yes?
Short.
Yes.
Emmons.
Yes.
Abel.
Yes.
Murray.
Yes.
Mayor Box.
Yes, item 12 is the emergency clause related to item 11.
Make a motion to approve the emergency clause for ordinance 1661 as presented.
Second.
Thank you both. Proper motion and a second. Item 12, let's vote, please.
Brown.
Yes?
Short.
Yes.
Emmons.
Yes.
Abel.
Yes.
Murray.
Yes.
Mayor Box.
Yes. Item 13 is a potential executive session to engage in confidential communications between a public body and its attorney pursuant to 25 OS 307B4 concerning pending claim or litigation upon the advice of the attorney that disclosure would seriously impair the ability of the public body to process the claim to conduct pending litigation. In this case, we're talking about the City of Jenks versus Sparkman Land LLC. This lawsuit has been going on for a very, very long time, and we need a motion to enter executive session.
Motion to go into executive session.
Second?
Thank you very much. Let's vote, please.
Brown.
Yes?
Short.
Yes.
Emmons.
Yes.
Abel.
Yes.
Murray.
Yes.
Mayor Box.
Yes, and for the public that's sticking around, we probably don't need any more than 15 minutes would be my guess. Appreciate your patience. There's all sorts of fun things to do in the lobby. Council has returned from executive session. No votes were cast. My apologies for, took a lot longer. Sorry, brother. Smart ass. My apologies. It was healthy discussion. Okay, we are moving on to item 14 is Resolution 857, which is a resolution declaring the necessity of acquiring a perpetual easement on certain property owned by Sparkman Land LLC and authorizing the city's attorney to file a second amended petition in the current condemnation proceedings to acquire the same. Last call for council. If not, we can entertain a motion on item 14.
Make a motion to approve item 14, resolution 857 as presented.
Second.
Thank you. We have a proper motion and a second. Let's vote, please.
Brown?
Yes.
Short?
Yes.
Emmons?
Yes.
Abel?
Yes.
Murray?
Yes.
Mayor Box?
Yes, moving on to other business. Mr. Shroud, anything on your report?
Mayor and all members of council, we had a town hall on January 16th to discuss the Elm Street widening project. I think we had a pretty good turnout. We had some good questions and good answers, and I think we hopefully connected with the people there and let them know that we would be continuing our communication as it relates to how that construction is proceeding and how that's going to impact traffic. We have some updates on some street projects. Fire Station 1, the contractor will begin installing structural steel and the sanitary sewer service line this week, and the water line passed the pressure test on January 14th. And then we have some events coming up that I think the chamber may touch on, but we also have the INCOG elected officials reception that is, I believe, tomorrow from 5:30 to 7:30 at the Williams Lodge at the Gathering Place. You're all invited. We have the Jenks Happy Hour coming up on Thursday, the 23rd, from 4 to 6 at City Hall Steakhouse. As our animal control officer mentioned, February 1st, we'll have that adoption event at Pet Sense in Sapulpa from 10 to 3. And then we have the Jenks Chamber Banquet February 20th, JPS Trojan fundraiser on February 22nd, and then Splash at the Aquarium on March 1st. So if you want to attend any of those events, please let Sarah Tackmill know, and she will get you signed up.
Thank you, Mr. Shroud. Any questions from council? All right. Yes, sir.
Mr. Stroud, you're going to hate me after a while, but this percentage increase on sales tax, is that still running at 20% year over year?
Yes, and so these numbers are from, so let me back up. We get the sales tax check for the previous month, like for December, we get it in January. And so when we talk about the first half of the year, we're talking about the actual check we receive. And so when I update council and say for January, like last month, we're talking about the first 7 months, and we're talking about January versus last year. These numbers are a little bit delayed. We receive them delayed. And so what we then do is put together our top sales tax producers, and then we also compare our sales and use tax to all of the metro communities. And so I think in the first bullet, for the month of December, every single community was down except for Owasso and Jenks. And then for July through December of '24, which would be the first half of fiscal year '25, we have the highest increase in sales tax percentage-wise in all of Tulsa County. So, but yes, it's still, we keep kind of going back between 19% and 21%, so.
Excellent.
Increase.
Thank you.
Any council members, committee activities, anything you want to talk about?
Yes, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
This Thursday at Fire Station number 2, from 10 to 12, will be with Safe Kids doing a car seat check. If anybody needs their car seats checked, come on out.
All right, anyone else? Okay, couple things for me. Appreciate Jenks Police Department and Jenks Fire for coordinating an active shooter event. I think you guys did a good job of communicating to the public that this would be happening. Not sure if anybody heard the shots, but I appreciate being invited. It was really interesting to see. I've been through a number of these in the military. They kind of make us do it quite a bit, but it was interesting to see this happen on the civilian side for the first time. So overall, really good results. Good to see Light Horse out there, EMSA responding. And I just applaud you guys for doing a really good job. It's for having retail clerks in stores being your patients. I think there was a pretty good sense of realism. That's hard to get done when you're not being ordered to do it. So I applaud you guys for your efforts and tell all of them it's much appreciated. I so look forward to those things. I hope you guys do one every once in a while. I think it's good, not to mention the relationships you build with the other law enforcement communities. So good job, gentlemen. Counselor Abel and I have asked staff to kind of prepare for the possibility of putting out a fun public survey. I think we're interested in changing the slogan for the city of Jenks. I've asked this question before in trivia. Very few people know, but the current slogan that we think we know is that everything is going our way. Well, that's not always true. Although right now, in the last 2 weeks, we've had 2 independent third parties say that we are the second best city to live in and own a business in the state of Oklahoma. So I think things are going our way, but we're going to try to find something better. We're going to get a lot of community engagement. It's not our decision to make, but we'll be working with the staff soon, so you may start hearing about some of this on city social media at some point soon. I think it's time. It's not a rebranding. It's basically, it's just, you know, when you look at our city seal and you look at our business cards, it said the same thing forever. So I think it's time for a refresh. So we'll be excited to let the community get involved. And just like last time when we got the community involved, our Jenks flag came as a result of that engagement. And we had a high school student at Jenks, and essentially that's where our flag design came from. So the best ideas tend to always come from those other folks. So you'll be hearing about that soon. I do make it a habit of sharing information. That what I'm about to read to you is not my opinion. I'm not expressing any disagreement or agreement with what's being done, but there's quite a few of our residents that are concerned about apparent drone sightings over the city of Jenks, to the point where my wife and I decided to drive around a few nights ago near the airport, and we hung out on the road for about a half hour, and I'm pretty sure almost everything we found was an aircraft. It turns out, if you guys don't know, that Tulsa Technology Center does run a drone pilot program out of their facility that does not include actually flying drones, and I know that because I'm a graduate of that program from about 2 years ago. On that particular evening, for those of you that wanted to know, they did have a quite extensive number of nighttime pilots that were doing touch and goes, and it really did look busier than ever, and busier than I ever recall. But when you talk to the control tower, and for the most part, those were all aircraft. So the other topic that's come up as kind of directly related to drones is the chemtrails versus contrails. Depending on what groups you're paying attention to on social media, there's a lot of concern, escalating concern from our residents of the chemtrails that are located overhead. There's a dispute whether or not they're contrails, which are naturally occurring from an aircraft's engine, versus chemtrails. So I spoke with one of our local representatives. I've had this discussion with Travis Meyer, who's helped us identify the difference between a cloud and a trail. And this is an email that we got just last week. Dear Representative, on behalf of Director Julie Cunningham, thank you for your inquiry regarding the weather modification activities, cloud seeding, if you guys know what that is, in the state of Oklahoma, as provided in Title 82, section yada, yada, yada. These sections of law provide for the creation of a weather modification division within the Oklahoma Water Resources Board, and dedicated a full-time employee to oversee the weather modification program, as well as provisions for some funding assistance. So that law allowed for that program to come into place and for them to fund a full-time employee. To our knowledge, the agency has never maintained a division nor employed any staff dedicated to weather modification. The division and position allowed under statutes has not been funded nor maintained since at least 2005 due to the lack of requests in areas that include but are not limited to cloud seeding. The agency currently does not maintain a division or employee for the purpose of overseeing weather modification activities and has not received any applications for weather modifying permits or licenses in recent years. There are no active permits or licenses to conduct weather modification activities in the state of Oklahoma. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And this is from the Executive Director of the Oklahoma Water Resources Board. So take that for what it's worth. It's hard to tell the difference between a drone and a plane, but most of the drones that are flying overhead on behalf of our police department is probably this big, and as we heard from PSO today, they're probably this big as well. You might have to do some research and watch a few YouTube videos to determine the difference between a Cessna 172 and a drone, but it doesn't appear that there's any weather modification activities going on in the state of Oklahoma, and that's their opinion, not mine. And lastly, a very, very good meeting. So about a week or two ago, I advertised trying to get a group of folks together to talk about marketing strategies for the city of Jenks. It's a meeting I've wanted to have over a year ago, and I really wanted to wait for Simon to get a full-time marketing manager in place. And when I finally thought I had this meeting scheduled in the third quarter of last year, Simon asked me to hold off until they got that new hire in place. So my intention was to get the marketing manager for Simon Properties, One Fire, which you guys know is the Riverwalk, the Oklahoma Aquarium, and city staff. And then the only outsider in that case that I wanted was the Freeform Agency, which you guys know created the Facebook page of the 10 district. So those were the 5 primary invites. Excuse me, and also the other primary invite was to the Jenks Downtown Merchants Association. And most of the folks that showed up, I left it to the president of that association to invite some of the folks, mostly building owners, business owners, or any relevant real estate property owners that were up and down, basically the downtown corridor. So that was the intent of that meeting. I say it was extremely successful. 25 people show up, Marseille? Yeah, 25 people show up. The goal was really, in my opinion, and I'm not a professional marketer, but with Simon being here and generating all this commerce and people coming into town, for the last 20 years, they're coming here for the Oklahoma Aquarium, which is when we became the destination. I think the mall kind of solidifies that. But what we don't want is for these folks to come into town and then leave and then not visit downtown or even our partners over at the Muskogee Nation. So we kind of talked about the idea of creating a circle of commerce where we can get people to come here and spend their dollars in this perpetual circle. And then, of course, how do we do that? Well, with the roads being what they are, you guys have all driven from Simon to, let's say, downtown Jenks. You guys know how to get there. So the goal for this was to talk to these folks and just brainstorm on ideas of how do we capture these dollars and their revenue, and how do we keep them in Jenks longer. The longer you stay in this business, you'll start hearing about these terms about the intensity and density and capturing their attention for more than a day. Obviously, we would need a hotel somewhere down there to do that. So these were some of the ideas that we talked about. I did have a summary. Thank you to Lolly Moore for the summary and for the city, and I left them on my iPad, which I couldn't bring because my wife had an on-camera meeting and didn't let me walk behind her to grab it. But based on my memory, some of the high-level topics we talked about were transportation. How do we get people to not, when they put their bags away at the mall, how do we keep them out of their car? And how do we get them over to the aquarium, then move them over to the eventual golf suites or whatever the place is going to be called? And then how do we get them down to downtown and then get them back without them getting in their car? Why do we not want them in their car? Well, they're likely to leave. Our roads are what they are. Main Street's probably not getting any wider. So the thought process is if we can keep them around longer, keep them out of their car, keep them in that good parking spot, we could capture their attention longer. So we discussed some ideas around Somebody used the word trolley, some people called it a bus. I don't know if it's an executive golf cart or a van, whatever the case may be, but these were some of the ideas that we were brainstorming on and modeled after, if you've ever been to Hilton Head, South Carolina, as soon as you get out of your hotel, they give you a ride everywhere, and you do not pay for any rides, and it's all driven via an app, which is why we wanted Freeform to be represented, because they have the expertise there. And essentially it creates, in my opinion, a way to just kind of keep people moving through our system, keep them out of their cars. We know we have some parking challenges here and there. So lots of really good discussion on the logistics of transportation, and I think the chamber even mentioned the possibility of a future where when you walk into a business, there might be a kiosk there with a little iPad, and essentially any question you have, where am I now and where do I need to go to find this particular item? So these are technology pieces that we can put together. We're not experts in any of this, but a lot of people in the room are. So there's some really exciting ideas that came out of this discussion. We don't necessarily have a date for a follow-up, but I really do think, you know, when the time's right and Simon Properties starts to develop and we have what's it called? Camp Pickle. And then you have the In the Raw property, and then High Five is getting very painstakingly close to actually putting a shovel in the ground. We're not going to want people driving all over the place and trying to find a parking spot, because we know what it's like to park on Main Street. So really good ideas on the technology, the cross-marketing, driving traffic to other retailers through the use of incentives, coupons, et cetera, et cetera. Anything else high level? You can scream it out. Did I forget anything? Yeah, outside ads, you know, as a city, you know, the chamber talked about how, you know, why are we not marketing to Rogers, Arkansas area? They're marketing to us. Tulsa has the Gathering Place, amazing museums. There's so much to offer here in Tulsa. Why aren't we reaching out to these folks and getting them to come here? You know, obviously the Lieutenant Governor does a good job, but what are we doing to capture some of those dollars? And we also talked about signage, wayfinding, and that's really probably the only thing that government is good at. We can put signs up and direct people to get certain places, but it would be really good if we had the use of technology to say, when you're here and if you want chicken, then here's where you need to go. These are the offerings that we have, and that, okay, not chicken. There's less chicken than ever before, apparently. But you get the point. If you want carne asada taco, we've got 3 or 4 options for you. So very, very good meeting. I think these people were pleased to be engaged. I think mostly just happy that we're even asking them for their expertise, and they're all very, very good. So there's some potential really good outcomes here. Timeline, I don't know, it could be a year. Do I see a trolley going up and down Main Street in 2025? Maybe not, but it's certainly something that we may need to consider in our future, or the next council needs to consider. So good opportunity. And thank you to all of you that came and who accepted the invitation, whether it was directly from me or someone else. Lots of good stuff happening there. So that's it for me. Appreciate your time. Any last call on city council before we close? All right, it's 8:27. We will adjourn the city council meeting, and we will do a roll call for Jenks Public Works Authority, please.
Brown.
Here?
Short.
Here.
Emmons.
Here.
Ogier. Abel.
Here.
Murray.
Here.
Chairbox.
Here, item number 1, consideration of appropriate action for our consent agenda.
Motion to approve consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Thank you, gentlemen. Proper motion and second. Item 1, let's vote, please.
Brown.
Yes?
Short.
Yes.
Emmons.
Yes.
Abel.
Yes.
Murray.
Yes.
Chairbox.
Yes, we'll pull item 2. Item number 3 is a resolution 2025-01. It's a resolution amending the annual appropriations by $89,432 in account number 557265426. It's also known as the Jenks Public Works Authority WWTP Capital Improvements Interest Expense for fiscal year ending in June 30th of 2025 to fund an arbitrage rebate payment to the International Revenue Service. What the heck? David, welcome back.
Too much money.
We appreciate you, sir. Walk us through number 3.
Sure. Basically, every every 5 years of a revenue bonds, you have to do arbitrage, and they basically, in order to keep their tax exempt status, they have to do an analysis of what you've actually made in interest-wise, and then also what you basically said you were going to make. Based on that, when you have the money and you set it in the fund, and then once you use it, you basically, again, make interest. In essence, we've made too much money because of the fact that since 2020, interest rates have gone up. So when it was set up, interest was basically lower, and then obviously interest went up, so we made more money. And the IRS wants their share, basically. And so we file a return with them and pay them their share, and that's what this $89,000 is. So it is no new money, it's just money that we've made, basically, and paying it back to them. So,
Okay.
based on the agreements that we set up when we did the revenue bond.
So it's an interesting, good problem. Any questions for David? Any possibility with it's highly likely the IRS is probably going to shrink in the next year or so. Do you think we could wait this out? And the fact that there's nobody to be paying attention to
No,
it?
they want their money within 60 days.
Oh, do they? Yeah, okay, they are paying attention. Very well. Well, thank you, sir. We appreciate your time. Item number 3, gentlemen.
Make a motion, we approve Resolution 2025-01.
Second?
Thank you both. We have a proper motion and a second. Let's vote, please.
Brown.
Yes?
Short.
Yes.
Emmons.
Yes.
Abel.
Yes.
Murray.
Yes.
Chairbox.
Yes. Moving on, other business. General Manager's report. Mr. Shroud, anything else?
You have reports in your packets. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
All right. Item number 2 is our monthly chamber report. Would the chamber like to, is this number 1? First one? Well, you might have to introduce yourself to the YouTube world. The camera's,
Oh, right behind you?
yeah, say hi. Thousands and thousands of people dial in.
I'm sure they do. Day number 97 on the job for me, so.
Congratulations.
Mayor and council, thank you for inviting me. I'm excited to be here to give our first report. I do apologize that it is taking 97 days for me to get up here to give a report, but I'm going to touch on fourth quarter of last year just really fast, run through some of the things that we did accomplish. We put on Steins in the Park, the Chamber Open Golf Tournament, Trick or Treat on Main Street, Lights On, the Christmas Parade, Christmas in the Commons, a Schubert Mitchell ribbon cutting, Shields ribbon cutting, Genesis of Tulsa ribbon cutting, Diana Cox Law ribbon cutting, a town hall meeting at the ranch. I did an Ask Jinx video and Oklahoma Chamber of Commerce Executives Conference. So that was all in the first 60 days that I was here. So moving on to what's happening now, we have several upcoming events. I'll kind of touch on some of those. We have Network Jinx at City Hall on Thursday night. Our Leadership Jinx program is still running. Our next class will be on February 11th. Our next morning mingle will be February 13th, and I will have locations. We're working on all of those in confirmation right now, so I apologize I don't have this tonight. On February 14th will be our next legislative luncheon at the ranch. The 20th is our Jinx Chamber Banquet at River Spirit Casino Resort. The 26th will be our February member lunch at the ranch, and the February 27th will be Network Jinx again. A couple other things coming up later in March 12th and 13th, we'll have Jinx Day at the Capitol. So we're working on all of those reservations and plans right now, but we do have that date confirmed. And then I want to also point out, let's see, in April we'll have another ribbon cutting coming up. But now through February through May, we will have legislative luncheons once a month. So we do invite you to come to all of those as well as our monthly luncheons. So keep you posted on all of that. Some of our economic development efforts here in the last 90 days. We had a Tulsa's Future Introduction meeting at the ranch. We also hosted the original partner meeting for Tulsa's Future. I've met with Pegasus Group. We've also provided quite a bit of information to the Pegasus Group for site selectors. I apologize. We've attended the Jinx Downtown Development Master Plan meeting. That was tonight, actually, and we met with the chair of that group this afternoon. We have attended the Tulsa State of the City, a quarterly regional chamber coalition meeting, downtown development Zoom call with Hunden, which is the group that you're all working with. We had a meeting with Lenny Lane, a Downtown Merchants, and also a Tulsa's Future Partner meeting, which will be on February 20th. So quite a bit of things happening in economic development-wise. Community collaboration, my mouth is so dry, I apologize. We had a morning mingle at Kitsch just last week. Women in Business Committee. We hosted the State of Education at the ranch last week. Nothing Bundt Cakes, ribbon cutting, and a revamp. This is something really cool coming up. In addition to what the mayor was saying, is we are doing a revamp of the chamber website, which will allow us to do additional business opportunities, marketing, but it also has that connection with tourism, and there is an app that's already built into that we will have, that we will be able to really push out. It is something that we could push out in 2025 with very little cost. All it would cost is basically the cost of the tablet to put in lobbies. So that is one thing that we could move on pretty quick. As far as government affairs, we hosted our legislative luncheon with Representative Mark Tedford, Representative Mike Hall, and Senator Aaron Reinhardt at the ranch. We had our leadership Jenks course at the Jenks Fire Station. We had a meeting with Congressman Hearn's office with Sam Mulready. I attended the U.S. Chamber Institute of Organizational Management the first week of January, and I did sit through a course on effective government affairs programs. We worked with the state chamber we're working with the state chamber. We will be attending their legislative reception and dinner on February 11th, and we have our Jenks Day at the Capitol for March 12th and 13th. As far as marketing and tourism goes, we have a revamp of the chamber website. We are planning for those tourism kiosks. We are starting to plan our food truck festival for the spring, community event planning meetings for all of our fall events. We've met with SMG Management to buy our radio ads for the year. We attended the marketing team meeting hosted by Mayor Box. We have a marketing communications collaboration meeting with the City Chamber and Aquarium, which our marketing specialist Nathan will be attending. We had a meeting with Riverwalk Marketing with Lane. We've also been meeting with Aquavita on our Discover Jenks website, as well as our Jenks business promotion. And we have our Jenks Chamber Facebook page currently has 12,156 followers. We will also be adding a Discover Jenks Facebook page to do some additional marketing to go along with some of the efforts that we are making to draw people into Jenks. And then just a few chamber updates that I want to touch on because they are very exciting. Again, the website, we will be talking a lot more about that at our February lunch. But we also have had a staff restructure and some new hiring at the chamber since I've been here. Nathan Zilmer, who was our communications coordinator, has been moved to marketing and membership specialist. Jenny Suki is now our member engagement specialist. They will be working together on all of our membership and marketing collaboration. One of the things that I have tasked them with is really getting out and talking to the businesses this year and really understanding what they need more from the chamber and how we can help them if there's additional benefits or if there's something that we need to modify. We don't want them to just have to come to a meeting at the ranch. We want to get out to them in their space and make sure that we understand what their needs are. So we are also have hired an administrative and events support specialist. She will begin on February 3rd, and then we have hired a new events director. Both of those are new positions, and that events director will start February 10th. So I'm happy to take any questions. I know that was a lot, and I'm sorry I stumbled on my words, but 3 pages. I promised I would go fast. So.
Oh, thank you. It's your first time, so we appreciate that. Any questions for Mrs. Dunn's council? Mr. Abel?
For your banquet, one of the most, I guess, engaging and fun parts of it is voting for the best business, retailer, new restaurant, leadership award. Is it too late to nominate?
I will have to check on that. I know that all of the forms were due by this Friday, and that was to the businesses that have already been nominated. I think that those might still be open as long as whoever's nominated can get those forms back to us by Friday, because we do have to select the award winners and then get awards ordered. So, but yes, very exciting. We have, I think Nathan told me today we had over 150 nominations, so quite a few.
Anything else? Is Jenny still part-time?
She is part-time.
Come
I
on.
know, we're trying.
We need to hook her. We need her all day.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Last call for council, Jenks Public Works Authority. Anyone? Very well. The time is 8:40. We are adjourned. Have a good